Stalemate. Volodymyr Zelensky, Pavlo Kyrylenko, Seri Hati, Armed Forces Security Service, Internal Affairs Ministry, pro-Russian separatists. The war in Donbas, also known as the Donbas War, is an armed conflict in the Donbas region of Ukraine, part of the Ukrainian crisis and the broader Russo-Ukrainian War. From the beginning of March 2014, in the aftermath of the 2014 Ukrainian Revolution and the Euromaidan movement, protests by Russia-backed anti-government separatist groups took place in the Donetsk and Luhansk oblasts of Ukraine, collectively called the Donbas region. These demonstrations, which followed the February to March 2014 annexation of Crimea by the Russian Federation, and which were part of a wider group of concurrent protests across southern and eastern Ukraine, escalated into an armed conflict between the separatist forces of the self-declared Donetsk and Luhansk People's Republics and the Ukrainian government. While the initial protests were largely native expressions of discontent with the new Ukrainian government, Russia took advantage of them to launch a coordinated political and military campaign against Ukraine. Russian citizens led the separatist movement in Donetsk from April until August 2014, and were supported by volunteers and materiel from Russia. As the conflict escalated in May 2014, Russia employed a hybrid approach, deploying a combination of disinformation tactics, irregular fighters, regular Russian troops, and conventional military support to destabilize the Donbas region. According to the Ukrainian government, at the height of the conflict in the summer of 2014, Russian paramilitaries were reported to make up between 15% to 80% of the combatants. Ukraine launched a military counter-offensive against pro-Russian forces in April 2014, called the Anti-Terrorist Operation, from 2014 until 2018, when it was renamed the Joint Forces Operation. By late August 2014, this operation was able to vastly shrink the territory under the control of the pro-Russian forces, and came close to regaining control of the Russo-Ukrainian border. In response, Russia abandoned its hybrid approach and began a conventional invasion of the Donbas. Between 22 and 25 August 2014, Russian artillery, personnel, and what Russia called a humanitarian convoy crossed the Ukraine-Russia border. Crossing occurred both in areas under the control of pro-Russian forces and in areas that were not under their control, such as the southeastern part of Donetsk Oblast, near Novozorsk. These events followed the reported shelling of Ukrainian positions from the Russian side of the border over the course of the preceding month. Head of the Security Service of Ukraine, Valentin Nalyvaichenko, characterized the events of the 22nd of August as a direct invasion by Russia of Ukraine, while other Western and Ukrainian officials described the events as a stealth invasion of Ukraine by Russia. Russia's official position on the presence of Russian forces in Donbas has been vague, while official bodies have denied presence of regular armed forces in Ukraine. It has on numerous occasions confirmed presence of military specialists, along with other euphemisms, usually accompanied by an argument that Russia was forced to deploy them to defend the Russian-speaking population. As a result of the invasion, DPR and LPR insurgents regained much of the territory they had lost during the Ukrainian government's preceding military offensive. Ukraine, Russia, the DPR and the LPR signed an agreement to establish a ceasefire, called the Minsk Protocol, on 5 September 2014. Violations of the ceasefire on both sides became common, amidst the solidification of the line between insurgent and government-controlled territory. During the ceasefire, warlords took control of swaths of land on the insurgent side, leading to further destabilization. The ceasefire completely collapsed in January 2015, with renewed heavy fighting across the conflict zone, including at Donetsk International Airport and at Debaltseve. Involved parties agreed to a new ceasefire, called Minsk II, on 12 February 2015. Immediately following the signing of the agreement, separatist forces launched an offensive on Debaltseve and forced Ukrainian forces to withdraw from it. In the months after the fall of Debaltseve, Minor skirmishes continued along the line of contact, but no territorial changes occurred. This state of stalemate led to the war being labeled a frozen conflict. Despite this, the area remained a war zone, with dozens of soldiers and civilians killed each month. In 2017, on average one Ukrainian soldier died in combat every 3 days, with the number of Russian and separatist troops remaining in the region estimated at 6,000 and 40,000 respectively. By the end of 2017, the OSCE Observatory mission had accounted for around 30,000 individuals in military-style dress, crossing from Russia to Donbas at the 2 border checkpoints it was allowed to monitor.